Life is manageable when we're in this state. Not perfect, but manageable. In this episode, the safety state, the top of the polyvagal ladder, what it feels like, what it looks like on a person's face and in their voice, what your body actually needs to get there, and we will start Courtney's story to better understand all the pieces you have learned and will learn throughout the book. I'm Justin Sunseri. Hi, I'm a therapist, self regulation coach, and Polyvagal Institute editorial board member. You're listening to Stuck Not Broken, Book One Trauma and the Polyvagal Paradigm. If you are just joining us, welcome. This is an audiobook, so I highly recommend going back to the beginning and catching up, especially if you're new to this material. This book and the next two are all available for purchase already in both digital and softcover forms. Thank you ahead of time if you choose to purchase and support the show financially. I appreciate it. The safety state. The safety state is at the top of the polyvagal ladder. Myelinated fibers send safety signals from the brainstem to the body through the ventral vagus. These come from the nucleus ambiguous of the brainstem, but that's probably more than you need to know right now. The safety state is one of the two parasympathetic systems that use the vagus and is the most recent evolutionary development. Feeling safe and connected with others comes from these ventral vagal safety state fibers being active. We all have some ability to connect and to build families, herds, tribes, or even cities, but only so far as our safety state allows. This state is essential for mammals' overall health and well being. When we exist in this state, our bodies utilize resources for health, growth, and restoration, as Dr. Porges very often says. Our bodies function better, they're healthier, and we meet developmental milestones on time and in healthy ways. We form attachments and relationships with healthy boundaries. We just generally experience more goodness and live more fulfilling lives. So, what does safety feel like? These are some examples of what being in the safe social state can feel like: happy, joyful, calm, relaxed, still, playful, excited, awe, expansiveness, safe, trusting, interested, motivated, empathetic, understanding, empowered. The safety state generally feels like a connection to others, the self, and the environment. We are more attuned to our senses, our internal feelings, and others' emotions. We're curious and open to what the present moment brings without fear or judgment. Life is manageable when we're in this state. Not perfect, but manageable. Life doesn't feel as overwhelming, tense, or pressured. When we face problems, which we will, we can navigate them more easily. We can navigate through them with negotiation and cooperation, not panic or overwhelm. We compromise, but we don't sacrifice. We don't relinquish our inner power, our dignity, our purpose for the selfish needs of another. We don't sacrifice those things. We can better recognize safety or danger signals from the safety state. We can spot red flags more accurately when we're near someone who shows danger cues. If we keep access to our safety pathways in these moments, we may be able to navigate the situation and deal with it by giving off our own safety signals to the other person. Along with changes in emotion and feeling, this state also brings cognitive changes. In this state, we can focus, plan, think, learn, assess. We can weigh the pros and cons of situations. We have greater access to our executive functioning, something that's critical for students to learn and succeed academically. Increased executive functioning can also help when considering a new career, a new life path, or a significant purchase. These cognitive skills are necessary for daily functioning of all types. So, what does safety look like? You can tell when someone is accessing their safety state by looking at their body language and their face. Someone in this safety state will utilize their face and their neck muscles. When they listen, their head may tilt to one side and crinkles will form around their eyes as they squint. They can't do so without these biological pathways activated, at least not genuinely. It's different. When you feel safe and connected, you make and you sustain shared, gentle eye contact. Conversely, when you feel uncomfortable, you look away. Often, very often in therapy, a client has difficulty maintaining eye contact, but they make fleeting eye contact as they gain more access to their safety pathways. They look up at the therapist or they look up at me and then look away, darting their eyes back and forth from me to away, me to away. As they become familiar with these feelings of safety, and as that state strengthens, they can sustain eye contact for longer periods of time. When the safety pathways are active, the inner ear muscles allow a greater range of mammalian voice, something called vocal prosody. Human beings hear each other better. We even tune out other noises and focus on the prosody in someone else's voice. Think about being at a concert or some other crowded venue. You can still hear the person you're with because your ears are attuned to hearing mammalian voices, and it can tune out the background noises enough to hear the voice. Mammals are also capable of using vocal prosody from the safety state. The vocal prosody is the sing-songy quality of voice. Mammals can use their voices to convey a wider range of emotions and intentions. We can raise our voices to express excitement and lower them to show seriousness. When you speak from safety, your expression is more varied. When you speak from a state of danger, your voice is more restricted and monotone. Another obvious indicator that someone is in a state of safety is that they can spontaneously get closer to others and use appropriate touch. Think about the first time you saw someone you care about after coming out of quarantine in the early days of the COVID-19 pandemic. You probably, maybe, felt a spontaneous impulse to hug them, right? When you see someone you love, you probably hug or kiss them when you greet each other, or you just shake hands with someone that you appreciate or someone that you know, but not well enough to get super close to. Can these behaviors be faked? Sure, but that's not what I'm talking about here. From safety, there is a genuine, spontaneous, and shared experience of connection. Someone in a state of safety can use a broader range of physical gestures. Their bodies are more animated and they can express themselves more freely. From safety, you can dance romantically, silly, or freely. You can play with another or you can work out by yourself. There are other physiological changes when in safety, like saliva and digestive stimulation, slowed heart rate, and full breaths into the belly. The more, the better. Nobody exists in a state of pure safety. Generally, anyone can activate these pathways and feel them on some level. Yeah, it might be a significant challenge, but usually it seems possible. Even someone with a substantial history of surviving severe traumatic events can eventually access these pathways with safe enough environments and safe enough people around them. Again, no one exists 100% in these states, but we don't need to. We eventually need enough access to these biological pathways to eventually reduce defense and benefit from safety's homeostatic biological functions. When the safety state is active, defensive activation won't be out of control. Anxiety, depression, anger, and more reduce in their intensity and their frequency. So, the more access we have to safety, the better. Big and small events in life, even in a single day, will constantly challenge our ability to remain in a state of safety. That's not going to change. However, what can change is how much access we have to the state and how exercised those pathways are, how strong and efficient they are, what's needed for safety. When we discuss what's needed to feel safe, we're talking about what's required to activate the safety biology. Those two things, feeling and biology, they go hand in hand. Two major components are the environment and the people in our lives. Safe enough people and safe enough places provide neuroceptions of safety and help the individual climb their polyvagal ladder. The environment does not need to be perfect to access a state of safety. For instance, even in a dangerous neighborhood surrounding a school, students can potentially access their safety state, especially when the school staff are in their own safety states. One can still smile and hold hands with their loved one in a crowded mall on Christmas Eve. Safe people and safe environments provide passive safety neuroceptions. You detect their safety cues without conscious awareness or control. However, you can also actively access safety through mindfulness of the present moment, singing, dancing, and other forms of creativity. I'll talk about this a lot more in book 2. Meet Courtney. Courtney is a fictionalized representation of an actual therapy client. She's a kind hearted, soft spoken 16-year-old girl. I'll use her story to illustrate a sequence from the safety state down the polyvagal ladder. After each state's section, we'll catch up with her as her story unfolds. Courtney's story begins at her aunt's house, which she pronounces as Unt or Auntie. The house is a gathering place for many family members, friends, and neighbors. There's a front house and a smaller back house. Her uncle lives in the back house, where he needs constant tending to. He's unable to walk on his own or to do basic self care. People come and go from the back house to check on and tend to the uncle. Courtney and her friends like to hang out in the back house, watching TV or messing around on their phones. Today, she and two girlfriends are in the back house, smiling and laughing, making eye contact and play fighting. She checks on and tends to her uncle's needs. She's compassionate, looks him in the eyes gently, and smiles at him with eye crinkles. So far, what state does Courtney appear to be in? And how can you tell? All right, that does it for the safety state and this episode of Stuck Not Broken, Book 1. I will put the link in the description for you to purchase this book and the next two. Those include many journal reflections, primary source quotes, and no ads. But what happens when we lose access to our safety state? Next time, we discuss the flight fight state. Thank you for listening.